Hello, good evening, and welcome to my AQA Philosophy A-Level 2023 edition question predictions. So lots of people have been asking for these in comments on previous videos, and some just messaging me directly because apparently they can do that because they found a link to my website on this YouTube channel and have contacted me through that. So I thought I'd better make a video to match the demand for these. Sorry it's appearing so late if you've been desperate for these question predictions. This is actually because I have been on unpaid carers leave from work since February due to some family circumstances. So I haven't been doing any teaching in my permanent role in a school. I haven't been doing any itinerant teaching either, or tutoring, or making any videos, as you'll have seen. So apologies for that, but most of the people I'm caring for at the moment are asleep, I hope, right now. So I thought I would make a little video for you. But again, sorry it's so late. I hope this is still helpful to you if you find it in time. I should just say as well, what I see myself as doing in these videos is simply making public what teachers should be doing anyway, because any teacher should be able to do this, get all the previous past paper questions for the exam and line them up, and therefore look at what hasn't come up yet or what hasn't come up much, and therefore make guesses, informed and educated guesses and predictions about what might come up next or in the future. So if your teacher isn't doing that for whatever reason, maybe they don't have access to all of the past papers on AQA or something, you can ask your own teacher to do this. But anyway, here you go, making public what I believe people should be doing anyway, but just in case you don't have this in your own setting. Here we go then, let's jump into what you actually want, which is the question predictions, which you can see already up here on the screen. So first of all, for epistemology, which this year is happening on Thursday in paper one, isn't it? Thursday coming up, so what's that? The 16th, 17th, 18th. The 18th in 3 days. This video is going to go out of date very fast. What might come up in the epistemology paper? Well, here's everything that's come up before. Where's my magic pointer thing? Here it is, my magic pointer thing. And actually, to be honest with you, this now starts to get harder, this question prediction game, because so much has come up before, but not everything, not everything. So sometimes for quite a lot of these, I'm afraid I'm just going to say, well, anything that's not already appeared can come up, which is a bit lazy, isn't it? But to be honest, it's harder to narrow it down in some ways. Outside of the essay questions, because yeah, they've maybe hit some of the more obvious things, and so it's just, well, it could be any of this other stuff. But what are my wild stabs in the dark for the earlier questions? I'm firmer on the essay questions, which are arguably the most important ones to be tipped off about anyway. But here we go. They haven't asked about definitions of definitions yet, you know, the stuff right at the start of the epistemology course, which sometimes gets forgotten and left off by teachers because it's snuck in right at the start. So given that 3 markers are often on definitions, I wonder if they could slip in that stuff from Zagzebski, isn't it? And so on, about what a definition is in philosophy and necessary and sufficient conditions and so on. They've done necessary and contingent, which means something slightly different in a different context. But yeah, I wonder if necessary, sufficient, and definitions of definitions is going to come up at some point. Maybe, who knows? Could be completely wrong. No money back if any of these are wrong, or all of them are wrong, by the way. But you haven't paid any money, so that's okay. Moving on, the 5 marker, yeah, this is again wild stabs in the dark, stumbling around like a lunatic. JTBN hasn't appeared yet. I wonder if they will ask at some point about that in the near future, the no false lemmas approach to addressing Gettier problems. Also, well, yeah, so here's where I'll direct a bit more. They've shown that they will ask about just single bullet point criticisms in epistemology. So for example, what am I looking for? Yeah, even on the specimen paper, the argument from illusion against direct realism and so on. So maybe they'll do other criticisms like those that they haven't examined already, not just for direct realism, but any of the theories of perception. So what about direct realism and time lag, the time lag argument? Maybe they could ask about that. What about direct realism, and what does PV stand for again? I'm getting in, there's some noise outside the door, so my train of thoughts is being disrupted a little bit at the moment. PV stands for, oh yeah, perceptual variation. That's right, of course, the classic from Bertrand Russell, walking around his table and writing deep things about walking around a table. I wonder if they'll ask about that. But yeah, that's really as specific as I'm getting for you on epistemology. Anything that it hasn't already been asked about in previous papers, well, so you might think, great, what use is this video? That's not a lot of help, is it? But more relevant is, or more confident, I feel, about the 25 marker. Look, here's what's come up before. JTB, innate ideas, direct realism, idealism, intuition, deduction. So if you're looking at the major areas of the specification that they could ask you a 25 marker about, that there's enough to get your teeth into and make a informed judgment on, I think it's going to be indirect realism or JTB. Why? Well, they've actually asked the big theory of perception question: is there a table in front of you or not? Is there an external world or not? In 2020, but they phrased it in terms of direct realism. It was is direct realism correct, or something like that. So the only way they can kind of be original, I think, is to take that one and phrase it in terms of indirect realism, because they've done idealism as well, showing that they're prepared to ask essentially the same question, just focus on a different theory of perception. And you know, as I've discussed in other videos, hint hint, advert, go and watch those. There's loads of stuff on epistemology in my 2022 video when I had more time to make these things. Yeah, you can use a question on DR or idealism to basically just advance your argument for which theory of perception you think is correct, as long as you keep tying it back to the one in the essay question. So maybe a theory of perception general question phrased in terms of indirect realism, e.g. is indirect realism correct, or something like that. Or I reckon they've shown in previous years that they're prepared to reprint or reuse similar questions, essay questions, to the ones on the specimen, which, by the way, I suppose means these are all fair game as well. That wonderful word, the evil examiners are less prone to reusing earlier low mark questions. In my experience, it's the essay ones that they recycle the topics for, if they do recycle. So anyway, long story short, I reckon JTB could come up again. Once again, there's lots of tips for JTB in my 2022 revision video on YouTube and available from all good internet cafes. What am I saying? I'm so tired. I'm sorry. Yeah, loads of tips for that. I think JTB could be a contender to come up again. So that's the straightforward JTB essay: is knowledge justified true belief? Let's move on so this doesn't turn into too much of a monster video. Right, then we come to ethics. Good old ethics. Again, some of my suggestions are just anything not already, and ditto above. Oh dear, this is getting very unhelpful, isn't it? But that's because the essay questions, once again, are the easiest to guess, but thankfully most useful to guess. So what shall I say? Another random swing, maybe a utilitarianism definition, just because that seems to me quite obvious. It's at the start of the course, the start of the specification. It's nice and easy. You know, what is preference utilitarianism, or what does utilitarianism prioritize in an ethical life, or in the pursuit of the good? How does it define, I don't know, the good, something like that. We haven't had that, which is quite surprising, because it sort of seems to me like quite a straightforward early question. So maybe something like that. But yeah, anyone's guess. So much has been covered so far in the ethics paper early questions, because there's quite a few years of this, and there's 3 lower mark questions four lower mark questions in each of them after, which have been done for many years. So it's anyone's guess. You might be able to find little things that haven't been asked. I think, again, we're looking at really criticisms of theories, because I can't see any major elements of theories that haven't been asked about. I mean, there's so much on the virtue ethics list, for example. They just threw everything in the kitchen sink in there from Aristotle. So many different things you could ask about. So they've done skill analogy and so on. Yeah, virtues of skills. They've done that twice effectively. So, you know, maybe another random bit of virtue ethics if it's not a criticism, like, you know, like the distinction, the distinction between virtues and reasons, and something like that. So I'm a bit rusty because, as I say, it's been a while. I'm doing my best, guys. I'm doing my best. Hopefully, this is worth it, given that it's free. I've said Kant maybe here for a 12 marker. They have done Kant before on lying. Maybe another aspect of Kant, or Kant and a criticism, because I'm not sure they would do lying again, because my big guess for a 25 marker, quite bold to just put one thing in here. Again, no money back, and no guarantee here. Don't track me down and shoot me if it's wrong. Gosh, shouldn't make jokes like that, should you? I'm glad we don't live in America anyway. It could be the applied ethics area that comes up for the 25 marker. Why? Because you've had everything else, and they're not going to give you utilitarianism again because they've done it twice. So we've had all the major normative theories. Oh, and some meta ethics to be really mean in a post-pandemic year. Gosh, that was kind, wasn't it? Nobody saw that coming, even with the advanced information. Oh wait, I did actually. If you watch my 2022 video. So yeah, I reckon applied ethics, which is a bit annoying because they're the hardest essays to write, you could say. Probably some people find them the easiest essays to write. But yeah, once again, I think, no, there is no advice for that in my previous video. So in a nutshell, yeah, applied ethics, you can take these questions in any direction you want, really, because they're so open-ended, but make sure I would to think through how the different normative theories would approach the issue that you are given, and then pick a best one, and it's probably going to be the normative ethical theory that you prefer out of virtue, Kantian ethics and utilitarianism. But what you should do if you want to get a good grade, I would argue, is make sure to evaluate the relative merit of those different theories with constant reference to the applied issue in front of you. If you want that translated into a bit simpler speak, say which theory is best at dealing with the applied area by using that applied area and how they deal with them as your examples. Yeah, so e.g. Kantian ethics is the best at dealing with stealing, say, because this is what it says, and I think this is better than virtue and utilitarianism because they say this, and this approach is superior because. So actually apply the ethical theories in your applied ethics essay. I would say doing that is the best way to score highly in such an essay. You could also, by the way, just take it in a meta-ethical direction if you want to go that way. But I don't know, in my experience, students are usually more afraid of that. It could be more fun, though, if you do it and pull it off for the examiner who's bored out of their mind, wading their way through reams and reams of essays that all do things in a straightforward way. So yeah, maybe that's a bit of a risky move, but meta-ethics is fun. I like meta-ethics. What else to say? Applied ethics. Yeah, I think that's... oh no, yeah, there was one other thing, which is that if you are a bit sly, you may have noticed that some of the previous year's essay questions across the topics, across the different modules and parts of the papers have been lifted or come directly from the Cardinal, Hayward and Jones textbook, which is quite interesting, isn't it? That's the year one textbook. At the end of it, at the back, I believe, I think it's the year one, there are some exemplar essay questions, like example, or of all different kinds of questions, to be honest. By the way, if you haven't discovered this, this is a very useful resource in revision. Sorry if it's a bit late. But anyway, verbatim, word for word, some of those essay questions have come up in past exams. Therefore, I just wonder if the applied ethics question that is in there, sorry, I can't remember it right now and I haven't got a textbook to hand. Circumstances, yeah, sorry. But there is one in there. It's something like, is blank wrong? Whatever it is, the applied area, simulated killing or lying or something or other. It might even be stealing. I just wonder if that will come up because it's happened before. So there you go. Little tip. Come back and tell me if I got it right. Like and subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Open a business. Get on Instagram. I'm not on Instagram. I have no idea what I'm saying. Okay, Metaphysics of God, the area that I feel most confident about because I've studied it the most personally. So you're getting a bit more specific this time. Yeah, again, though, definitions, that's not that specific, but they like definitions in 3 markers. So look for some definitions, maybe around concept of God and stuff, because those are nice, straightforward ones. Or maybe from religious language. I've put second way in brackets, square brackets. I made this a while ago for my students. My former students now, I suppose, outgoing year 13, I really hope that someone has shown you this PowerPoint in depth. If not, I'm sorry if it's coming to you late this way. Second way, yeah, maybe a definition to do with the second way. What is it to do with, something like that. Anyway, yeah, something simple and a definition for a 3 marker. The 5 marker, well, I'm prepared to go a bit more specific here, just because I was teaching this before I had to go on leave. More specifically, I just wonder, I think I said this last year, but I still just wonder, because they've left it off. It is really difficult, but they've left it off before. If they're gonna give you at some point what's Malcolm's ontological argument. I suppose they could even make it a 12 marker because it's quite a complex argument. It's the one about, well, like all ontological arguments, it's about possibility and necessity, but it's about God as an unlimited being. Yeah, so see if you can get your head round or memorize a version of Malcolm's ontological argument. Annoying if it doesn't come up but yeah, I just wonder. Swinburne and Paley have come in the specimen paper years ago in a compare and contrast 12 marker, but they've never actually just outright asked what are their arguments in isolation. So I just wonder, could they go outline Swinburne's design argument, his teleological argument, outline Paley's teleological argument, because that seems like an obvious one to me as well, but it's not appeared yet, so maybe have that up your sleeve. Here's another big one which I'm surprised has not come up yet. Hicks theodicy. It couldn't come up last year because they gave you a problem of evil essay, and that would be too much evil. I mean, the exam's evil enough already in itself, but even more evil than is necessary than just from doing an exam. If you'd done Hicks theodicy last year. So I think that's likely to come up at some point, maybe this year or next year, because it's such a big, important thing in philosophy of religion, but they haven't asked about it yet. Euthyphro, haven't seen yet, so that's another major one. This isn't that different from saying anything not already appeared. It's just the religion stuff is fresher in my head from teaching it before I went on leave. So yeah, good to know Euthyphro back to front and inside out, because I think they could just give you outline Euthyphro, the Euthyphro dilemma, 12 marker. Yeah, I'm really blundering around in the dark still, but has Ayer appeared? No, haven't seen him. And again, criticisms of arguments, like I said, last 2 papers, but yeah, not maybe a bit of help in there, a bit more specific. What we're most interested in. Here you go. Here's my hot tip for the 25 marker for Metaphysics of God. I think it has got to be the cosmological argument or religious language, because you've done all the other major areas. They were even really nasty after in 2019 I said they can't ask about concept of God, can they? Just to spite me, they did a concept of God essay, which they've never done anything like it before, so fair enough. But now there are no major areas left except language, which they've done in the specimen, but they've shown for other modules that they are prepared to repeat 25 marker topics. So I think religious language, or the other big one that hasn't come up is the cosmological argument. So have an essay plan for the cosmological argument up your sleeve. Was that an option for last year? Yes, I think it was. I did probably predict that for last year. So again, little plug, go and watch my 2022 video, which has stuff on all of these topic areas except Metaphysics of Mind. That will have thoughts about the cosmological argument and an essay on it in it. So yeah, I think it's got to be one of those two. My gut is telling me cosmological argument. I had my students, when I was still at work, go deep on the cosmological argument, or deep as they could cope with without wanting to strangle me too much. Yeah, and lastly, Metaphysics of Mind. I don't have much to say about this at all because I haven't taught this before or really studied it in depth. So I'm just going to leave you with this table. The specimen isn't available. Well, at the time this PowerPoint was made, it's not available. but your teacher might be able to dig this up for you to do the prediction game. Sorry, I can't be more help with Metaphysics of Mind. If I ever end up teaching of Metaphysics of Mind, which may happen in the future, I will make videos for it as well, because I know lots of people struggle with it. I only like to make videos for stuff that I've actually taught in a classroom with students in depth, because otherwise I don't think these would be very helpful. So there you go, about 20 minutes. Hope that helps you in some way. God luck out there, and all the very best for your bright futures. Take care, everybody. Stay safe. Don't do drugs. Stay in school. Actually, don't stay in school. Get really good A levels and then leave school so you don't have to come back to school. Stay in university, hopefully. I need to go to sleep.